was that further information?
I'm not going to disclose private conversations. Further information came to light.
Speaker, he's obfuscating, but I'm going to keep him on the topic. He owes the House an explanation.
Remember when Keir Starmer was Labour's golden boy, the man who promised to clean up British politics and hold the government to account? Well, that image is crumbling faster than a sandcastle in a tsunami. In today's PMQs, Starmer faced a barrage of mockery and criticism that left him stuttering and struggling for answers. From appointing a convicted fraudster to his shadow cabinet to his flip-flopping on immigration policies, Starmer's political credibility is hanging by a thread.
The Prime Minister knowingly appointed a convicted fraudster to be his Transport Secretary. What was he thinking?
But what exactly happened in that heated exchange? And could this be the beginning of the end for Labour's leader? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Remember when Keir Starmer stood at the helm of the Labour Party, a beacon of hope for those yearning for change? It wasn't long ago that he was hailed as the antidote to Boris Johnson's chaotic leadership. Starmer promised a new era of integrity, pledging to restore trust in politics and hold the government to account with unwavering scrutiny. The public's initial perception was overwhelmingly positive. Starmer's background as a former director of public prosecutions lent him an air of competence and authority. He presented himself as a sensible alternative to the Conservative government, promising to tackle issues like inequality and climate change while maintaining a pragmatic approach to the economy. But cracks in Starmer's facade began to appear as his leadership progressed. His stance on immigration became a particularly contentious issue. While he had previously advocated for maintaining free movement post-Brexit, Starmer suddenly shifted gears, adopting a tougher stance that left many supporters scratching their heads.
I think it's probably a good time to remind him that he was the one writing letters asking us not to deport foreign criminals. And
This U-turn raised questions about his principles and whether he was simply chasing popular opinion rather than standing firm on his convictions. The contradictions didn't end there. Starmer's past actions as a human rights lawyer came back to haunt him. His involvement in cases defending foreign criminals from deportation stood in stark contrast to his newfound tough talk on immigration. Critics began to wonder, was this the same man who had passionately argued against the very policies he now seemed to endorse?
Cheerleader, she was the one urging on the removal of the caps for work visas. She was thanking the previous Home Secretary for the work that was done.
As the pressure mounted, Starmer's carefully crafted image began to crumble. His performances at Prime Minister's questions became less assured, with fumbled responses and missed opportunities to land decisive blows on the government. The tide of public opinion started to turn, with once supportive media outlets now questioning his leadership abilities. But the real bombshell was yet to come. In a move that left many Labour supporters aghast, Starmer appointed a convicted fraudster to his shadow cabinet.
Speaker, he's obfuscating, but I'm going to keep him on the topic. He owes the House an explanation.
This decision not only called into question his judgment, but also undermined his claims of being a champion of integrity in politics. How could a man who promised to clean up Westminster justify bringing someone with a criminal record into such a prominent position? As Starmer prepared to face Prime Minister's questions, the stage was set for a confrontation that would put his leadership to the test. With his credibility on the line and accusations of hypocrisy swirling, how would he defend his actions and maintain his grip on the Labour Party? The House of Commons was about to become a battleground, and Starmer's political future hung in the balance. Starmer's supporters hoped he'd mount a spirited defense against the accusations. Instead, they witnessed a performance that left many questioning if they truly knew the man they'd placed their trust in.
His party voted against every single measure that we put in place to try and limit immigration.
As the Prime Minister launched his attack, Starmer's response revealed more than just policy disagreements. The atmosphere in the House of Commons was electric as the Prime Minister began his assault. He wasted no time in zeroing in on Starmer's most glaring vulnerability, the appointment of a convicted fraudster to his shadow cabinet.
Was that further information?
I'm not going to disclose private conversations. Further more information came to light.
This decision, already a source of controversy, became the centerpiece of a broader indictment of Starmer's judgment and integrity. But the Prime Minister didn't stop there. He dug into Starmer's past, unearthing letters where the Labour leader had opposed the deportation of foreign criminals. This revelation stood in stark contrast to Starmer's recent tough talk on immigration, painting a picture of a politician willing to say anything to win votes.
With the Westminster issues, we're getting on with fixing the mess, fixing the foundations, that £22 billion black hole.
As the accusations piled up, Starmer's composure began to crack. His responses lacked their usual sharpness, often veering off topic or falling flat. At one point, he attempted to turn the tables, declaring, "The public are watching. He owes them an explanation." But this attempt at deflection only served to highlight his own failure to provide clear answers.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not asking about migration. I'm asking about the former Transport Secretary.
The most damaging moments came when Starmer seemed to lose his train of thought, stumbling over words and appearing flustered. These instances of stuttering were quickly seized upon by his opponents, becoming fodder for memes and social media mockery. Body language experts noted signs of discomfort and defensiveness, further reinforcing the perception of a leader under siege. As the dust settled, the impact on Starmer's image was undeniable. The once polished performer had been reduced to a stammering shadow of his former self. Political analysts predicted that this PMQ's performance could have lasting implications for Starmer's leadership, raising questions about his ability to effectively challenge the government and unite his party. The broader implications for Labour and British politics were clear. With Starmer's credibility in tatters, the opposition's ability to hold the government to account was severely compromised.
And she talks about immigration, record levels of immigration under the previous government, nearly 1 million.
As the Labour Party grappled with this latest setback, many wondered if Starmer could recover or if this marked the beginning of the end for his political ambitions. Keir Starmer's political future hangs in the balance. His credibility, once a shining beacon for Labour supporters, has been severely dented by recent events. The PMQ's debacle exposed not just policy inconsistencies, but a deeper issue of authenticity that voters are increasingly wary of.
He never answers any questions. He never answers any questions. And it looks like he didn't ask his Transport Secretary any questions either.
As public trust in political leaders continues to wane, one has to wonder, can British politics recover from this crisis of confidence? The implications stretch far beyond Starmer's personal career. His struggles reflect a broader malaise in the political landscape, where leaders often fail to live up to their promises. The appointment of a convicted fraudster to his shadow cabinet, coupled with his flip-flopping on key issues like immigration, has left many questioning the integrity of those who seek to lead. This erosion of trust isn't just a Labour problem. It's symptomatic of a wider disillusionment with the political class. The question now is whether voters will continue to tolerate this perceived lack of authenticity, or if we're on the cusp of a significant shift in British politics. As we move forward, the importance of genuine accountability in our political system has never been more apparent.